This has been good discussion. I'm gonna kind of break us up and get us started. I really appreciate everyone joining this morning. I can't wait to hear about everything that's happening in y'all's parts of the state. Sounds like there's a lot going on, so I'm really looking forward to getting y'all's updates and having this discussion. So thanks for joining. Olga Walsh is going to get us started because she has got a schedule conflict later on. So she's going to kick us off, and then we'll start with some regional updates from the agents after her. So, Olga, if you want to take it away, thanks for joining.
Yeah, thank you so much, Carrie. I just wanted to share a couple of slides with you. This is just on small grain plot harvest for this year. Just a quick overview and some exciting news. So this is an overview of we have 7 locations, and we get this data out as soon as possible, and I know that the results were already emailed. The last location was actually harvested on Monday, which was Shenandoah Valley, just because it was raining. It was a little bit later than the rest. Um, but yeah, everything has been done. We have a new combine that we finally were able to secure for this season, and we were super excited to be able to actually harvest the small grains with it as well. We were worried a little bit about not being able to get it in time for the small grains, but it all worked out. Tremendous help from the Crop Improvement Association and SPAS there. Um, so we got the combine just at the end of May, and did the training at the farm there at Ketland in June. It all the setup is just fantastic. It's very nice. It's not a completely new machine, but it's new to us. It's a demo machine to 2022. Um, the brand new machine was even more money, so we wouldn't be able to afford that. But this is still just a huge improvement from what we've had before. And last year it's been a little bit of a concern. A couple of times, went on fire and wasn't fun. So this year, so far, Caleb has been very happy with this new combine. And for the harvest, the first one we did was Kentland, and the yields are pretty good. The ranges are between 65-ish to 103 bushels per acre, and I think that's kind of better than I expected on the high end. But however, we do have some damage at some locations, which I'm kind of wondering if anybody has any ideas, because we've been talking with Nick about this for a while now. We've had some locations where we consistently get some deer damage, and we're just not sure on how to handle that best, because at a couple locations, even with the deer fencing, they're still finding a way to get through to the plot. So we've been talking about maybe having almost as a trap crop, just plant something all the way around on these varieties, uh, and see if that will work. But unfortunately, we don't always have that luxury of having additional ground. And like this year, we were trying to put it up, but it doesn't work out at every location. Uh, Here's the wonderful picture he sent me. Harvesting with the new combine. He's been super excited about that. Um, and I know that lodging has been concerned at many locations, and mainly it's just due to rain. I mean, maybe some locations received a little bit too much nitrogen in combination with rain. I'm not sure really how bad that was at your locations. It'd be good to hear. But this combine handled the large locations well as well. Maybe with this rain now for corn, there might be some disease issues, but the yield is so good. I'm excited about this year's corn. Another thing I was gonna ask, don't know if you have any more slides. Yeah, the last year's variety trials were published, and this is the new one. That it's just a preliminary, but since the last occasion was harvested, we're going to start working on putting it together as an official report. What I was gonna ask you for advice is, how do you handle when growers send you pictures of their fields or their grain? I'm always wanting to see the actual samples, because a lot of times from the pictures, it's not very obvious what the issue is with the grain, whether it's a disease or insect damage or something like that. I mean, I'm always trying to encourage growers to send the actual samples to us. So, how, what do you think about that? I mean, I know there's some apps right now that can kind of clearly show, or more clearly show than it used to be, on whether it's damaged due to insects or specific disease, but I don't know how well those work. I mean, do you have any experience on that? Because a lot of times people, for some reason, not always excited about sending in the samples. So that's all I have really for you this morning. But if you have any questions or any advice for us, thank you.
So where are you stationed, Olga?
I'm in Blacksburg.
Okay.
For your app, what do you mean? Like, are you asking?
Well, like, for example, even one of my students, he's working with AI. They're developing an app on plant diseases, that just basically this app is covering the internet, and they're putting together these recognition image software where, anybody can use their phone to detect the disease. And I mean, a lot of times it's good, but a lot of times it's not as accurate, just like Google Lens and all that. So I'm just hesitant to really give an advice, especially sometimes you can clearly see it's a combination of things. There's disease pieces, and there's impacted grain, and there's just debris. So, I mean, it's difficult to know without actually seeing it in the field, or how prevalent was in the actual like seed lot. So, I mean, I'm not certain on how to handle this really if all we have is images. I mean, I'm hesitant to give like an advice just based on a picture.
Yeah.
As
We
much
have
as I
joked.
want to.
We have joked about having an educational course on how to take pictures for farmers, because they'll take one. I sent a message to a guy the other day. He sent me a picture. I said, "Can you take one farther away?" Joking, and so he backed up another 75 yards and took another picture and sent it to me. And I was like, I was just kidding.
Yeah.
So if you have an app and you're trying to develop it, but you're fairly.
Well, yeah, as an example, one of my students is working on it with some other computer science people, but I know these apps already exist. You can download an app and try to use that, but I'm myself, I'm not confident on that, because you have to be really confident in the app, how it was developed and everything. So I don't know if you have maybe a better solution for that. Because if we don't have a physical sample in front of us, or really nice several pictures of like the field and the grain, and and in plants and maybe the roots as well as just above ground, you know. I mean, a lot of times it could have been something root related and we don't know. And it might look like deficiency of some sort. Anyway, just something to think about if you have ideas. But I'm always trying to emphasize this, please send us a sample so we can actually physically look at it.
All right. Thanks, Olga.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you for let me talk ahead of everybody. Yeah, just have an appointment. So thank you, I appreciate it.
All right. Yeah, thank you. That's a great update, and glad to hear the yields are looking good overall for both small grains and corn. So a little different message than we had last year. So glad to hear it.
Yeah, now I just need the prices, the grain prices.
Yeah, well,
just a tiny little side.
absolutely.
I have a question. I have another question. I'm sorry, I keep asking questions. What was the highest yielding location? Like what part of the state?
I want to say Mount Holly irrigated was
Yeah.
just because of that, because of irrigation. But there was also a lot of lodge in there, so
Okay.
still kind of, yeah. Blackstone was good, but some deer damage. So it's kind of, we're still trying to figure out how to report the data, because normally, it was reported like on these varieties, everything together, just by location or by year. But we're beginning to think of maybe splitting it up, because once we have some locations where the on list varieties were really impacted, it kind of brings down the overall yield impression of that location for that year, and sometimes it's not consistent. So we're probably going to just talk a little bit more about that, how to report it, because and deer damage is also an important information for growers too, but at the same time, just purely kind of, comparing varieties, I guess it's not making sense.
Yeah, deer damage is a constant struggle. So I'm actually going to go out of order, and I'm going to share my screen since we're talking about it. And I'm excited because I've got a deer repellent trial. So can y'all see that?
Yeah.
My picture. Okay. So I'm working with NC State and Mississippi and South Carolina on a collaborative deer repellent trial. So all of these different treatments, we had 4 different treatments. They all got put out at pre-plant. And at first, they all repelled the deer pretty well, so much so that we thought we put the trial in the wrong spot. But now the differences are coming out. So I'm really, really excited to see something happening out there. But you can see kind of on the left side here, that is one of the products. And you can see it's just been mowed pretty much all the way to the exclusion cage, and then on the other side too. And then on the right here, this is one of the products, Milorganite. That's basically a fertilizer. And it, in all 4 reps, looks pretty good. So financially, I don't think it pencils out, but I'm happy to see that there's differences. So I wanted to kind of share that because I'm getting pretty excited that something is actually showing a little bit of promise. But it's very expensive. So it's not the solution, but it's a start of something. Because yeah, the deer pressure has just been really strong. Like it's been a challenge this year. I mean, I'm sure I'm preaching to the choir here, but there was a while there where nothing was growing and everything was just getting eaten. And so we're finally out of that part of the season, but it's been difficult. So happy to see the differences is really what I'm excited about.
That's cool. I mean, it's just biosolids, right? Do you think we could spread just biosolids on ground before we plant soybean?
We might have to look into it and see if that helps with deer. I mean, the problem is, you can see right up next to it, they were eating. So you'd have to spread the whole field as part of the challenge. Like if you just did the perimeter, they would walk right through it to the next thing. But definitely something that might be worth looking into with some different angles.
We've had some decent anecdotal success with the biosolids, like up toward Franklin County. And like I say, it's purely anecdotal. I don't have anything to back it up, but you can see where they will eventually feed there, but for the most part, it staves them off for a number of weeks early season.
So is this with you, is it the granulated stuff they're spreading over the top of the beans, or spreading at planting or right there at emergence or something?
Yeah, so for our different treatments, so we had the untreated control, which looks just as bad as the other plots do. This is the only one that looks any different. So this is the only one that was granular. So we applied it at planting, just like a fertilizer with a fertilizer spreader. Everything else was a spray treatment. And I do think that, whether it was just that we were out there, we had bad luck or whatever, none of them got severe early season damage, but starting to see some differences now, which I think is really interesting because I thought that it would all be wore off by now. So,
Carrie, you mentioned, is that at the PD research station at Clemson in South Carolina?
yes. So
I was down there this week and I was wondering what I didn't see that portion of it, but I was wondering what that exclusion fence was in some of the.
Yeah, so Michael Plumley down there is working with us on the project. Rachel Van is leading it out of NC State. And then we've also got folks in Mississippi. I think that might be everybody. And so they were posting this on Twitter that across North Carolina, this was the winner too. So it's something. Again, it doesn't pencil out financially, but maybe if biosolids could work, that might be a good start to something else. Anyways, I just got excited and wanted to share that out of order, so I apologize. I'm going to pass it along to someone who is willing to give a regional update from County Extension Agent. Steven, you're on my screen. Do you want to go ahead and go first?
Sure, no problem. And we talked about a lot of the issues that we struggled with earlier. So Bobby, to echo your point, we're probably at 30 inches plus in the south end of the county since May 1st. And when it comes 4 inches at a time. We have really struggled getting small grains out of the field, so our double crops are behind. A lot of folks this time, did the cover crop program through DCR or Soil and Water, and any other year stand and rye is a fantastic thing, but it's not when you've got 30 inches, and it just kind of adds to the mush that is under there. So much more PPO damage. Now we're in our second round of PPO damage on the double crops. I think the growers are really reconsidering the way that we're using those products, just the timing that we're putting them out when we get these huge, 2 and 4 and 6 inch rains right at emergence. That it's burning the fire out of them. And
PPO?
Valor, is one that's pretty common here and really been at the source of it. And so the deer damage portion of it, that herbicide damage early kind of knocks them back a couple of weeks, and we're not getting good early season growth and giving those deer an opportunity to come in there and feed a second time. And that's been a struggle, and so now we're seeing the same thing happening in some of the double crop beans, because right when they got planted, we got another, 2 inch or 4 inch downpour that right when they were coming up. So we got a lot of drowned stuff. Quite a bit of our river bottom corn down on the North Carolina border at the Dan River Basin is actually now in South Boston somewhere, and or underwater. We had quite a bit there. The majority of it was actually just south of Halifax there on 96, like going into Virgilina, but Hyco River got out and 250 bushel corn, you couldn't see it anymore. So it was up, the river was up 10, 12 feet, and you could see a few tassels sticking out, but that was about it. Like I say, we had emergence issues due to standing water in the early season. A lot of beans that got planted the latter part of April to 1st of May, we were extremely dry for that period of time. And then when it started raining there the second week of May, we just been struggling with it ever since. But we are a bit of a tale of two cities. So the guys in the northwestern corner of Pittsylvania County up until Sunday were running their pivots. So 30 inches on the south end and 2/10 on the north end. So it just kind of depends on where you were as to how well the weather's been treating you. That's all I got, Carrie, unless anybody's got questions, comments, concerns there.
I've got a lot of concerns about what you just said, but I appreciate it.
I feel bad for them. I mean, it's been a just kind of one thing after another, and we thought we had a lot of beans that had got a little better than boot top high or so. 2 weeks ago, when the 100-degree heat hit and they were just very succulent and weren't ready to take that, and they kind of shrunk. It looks like they went back and got smaller, but everything's back now. But that was a change in the weather we didn't need. So
Yeah, that's for sure. I'm glad that heat dome is gone, and we needed some rain after that, but we did not need all of the rain that we've recently gotten, that's for sure. So I appreciate that, and really am glad to hear what's going on in your part of the state, as even though that's not always good news. So if anybody has good news, Bobby, do you have any good news? I'll pass it along to you.
Yeah, I got some. I'll share my screen if I can. Let's see. Is that shared, I guess? Can you see that?
there it is.
Yes.
I'll just start with a broad summary. We probably have one of the wider planting windows. Like we had crops planted April 20th all the way through. I'm just talking about, not double crop, but all the way through like last week. But most of it's in the middle. But the wetness we've had tremendous rain since May 13th. And it delayed planting, here and there. A few fields couldn't be planted because they're just poorly drained. Hay harvest was delayed. There's probably some hay still being made first cutting in some fields. Timothy and smooth brome grass, which are later crops, but the moisture has been more of a blessing than a curse. But we've had a lot of it. And that's all over the whole Northern Valley. The good news is our groundwater is climbing, and it was at all-time low everywhere. And so that's kind of the summary. We do have drowned spots in fields, but on the whole, our crops look tremendous. And we got farmers that I put that up here. Mark Ryder, we may have to talk about this later, but I just stuck that up there to remind me to ask. I kind of want to look at we got some corn that's pollinated that is really good stand, really looks strong. Farmers put water down, but it's probably, they put their side dress on, and since then we probably had 15 inches of rain on it since side dress. And how much is there? Do we go urea or foliar over the top? And I have never done much with tissue tests that I like, but do we pull PSNTs out there and just kind of look at them, or do we just guess and go? And that's, you can think about that one. I did have a couple pictures. This is one soybean field. A farmer, I just shared this with Carrie. They went in there and applied Roundup and Liberty at the same time, I guess, to control all the weeds that were there, and some fungicide. A lot of people around here like to put sugar with their fungicide. I don't follow the data, but it's like I'm putting something out there for things to feed on other than the plant. I don't understand that.
Are they trying to attract beneficial insects?
What's that?
Are they trying to attract beneficial insects?
No, I think
that yesterday at our
I think they
meeting.
think it helps the plant. Now, I don't understand that.
Okay.
That's kind of common down here too. There are some folks out of North Carolina that sell. I don't know what the name of the product is. It's got a B on it, but it's 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 sugar water.
There's some fellow over in the Maryland area that some of my farmers, he's one of these really high yielding guys, and he uses this special product and it's got a lot of sugar in it. I still don't understand the physiology of that.
Yeah, I'll interrupt and say, I think what the physiology component is and the thought process, which first of all, there's no data to support it that I have seen, but basically the thought process is the plant is providing so much of its sugar and its energy to the nitrogen fixing bacteria that providing it that additional sugar is supposed to be helping it fix more nitrogen and increase yields. Now, there's no science behind that I have seen to actually prove what's happening. The only thing I've heard of is, like Tim was saying, attracting more insects. But there's a lot of people that are progressive farmers that are applying sugar. The sales pitches are good.
There is data in cotton that you're attracting more moths. So from the entomologist perspective, I don't like to hear that there's nice sweet stuff going out on top of a soybean field.
Well, so it's being done. And I don't know if when the stomatas are open, if some of it oozes inside the plant, I don't know. But somebody can answer that for me later. But anyway, we saw this damage, but we just think it was from the spray. This the field as a whole, and it looks good. Here's what we're seeing in some cornfields. This is variability in soil, and that's just what I want to say. That's just the difference in the rainfall. It's making yellow spots in the field. And this was 2-3 weeks ago, and I just glanced at it the other day, and it's still like that, just a little taller. And there's another spot. And we got corn shoulder high out there, and corn that's below my waist in yellow. But that's the exception and not the rule over the county or over the whole Northern Valley. There's some wheat that we just did a yield check on for the contest. There's the variety test plots, Olga, that just got harvested. I did get to ride in your new combine. I like that. And that's all I got in that regard. I've gotten 2 yield contest things done. Still, so the state rule says 3 acres and the national rule says 1.5 acres. That one I'm wrapping my head around. Farmers, it's confusing people, but that's all.
Carrie, while we're talking about some of the products, so I've got some folks up here using a product called Hydrolite, which is an aqueous solution of sodium chloride. The label says hospital disinfectant. It is being sold to them as it oxygenates the roots and resurrects drowned whatever. I kind of laughed. Clemson had it on their station in some of their station work on some tobacco, but it's showing up here as you spray it over the drowned spots and they come back to life. So
I have not heard of that, so I appreciate you telling me, and I'll look it up. But
the salesman was discussing the pathogen load in the soil, and so he said, 68% of the soil is pathogens, and I said, well, 38% of all statistics are made up on the spot, I guess. He used a whole lot of numbers that really didn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, I'll have to look into that, but I've not heard of it to be able to give any other insight. I mean, I 100% agree with you. I don't I can't see that is the magic bullet, but glad you mentioned it. All right. Well, thanks, Bobby. I'm glad to see things are going well overall, at least for the soybean crop. That one field of corn did not look as good, but looking forward to hearing from Mark later. I want to make sure we get through the county agent regional updates first, though. So Scott or Robbie, if either of you want to go ahead and give your updates, that'd be great.
All right, I'll go ahead and I do want to share while we were talking about rain, share my screen if I can. So can you see that?
No.
No. All right, maybe I won't share it then. So hold
You
on.
should be able to.
Yep, there we go. So
There we go. We've got it now.
Okay, we were talking about rainfall. I stumbled across this on the National Weather Service, NOAA, and it's a radar tool, and it's fairly accurate. I've been kind of playing with it the last week, comparing it to what we get in measured gauges. I mean, it's within a few tenths, but you can go back. It's just water.noaa.gov, and under this more water information, it's precipitation estimate. Pretty good. You can see here, that what Stephen was talking about in North Carolina, Southern Pennsylvania. You can go back to the month, year, select date. It's updated every day at 11 a.m. So yesterday's rainfall, the 10th, is not on there yet. But after 11 today, it will be. So it's fairly up to date, fairly easy to find. I stumbled across it working with FSA on some disaster information. We had a lot of prevented planted cotton, so they needed rainfall data, and we kind of ran across this to help provide that on a local level. In addition to measured gauges that we have. So good tool if you need to look up, and it's got river gauges. It's got a lot of their water data here. It's fairly new, much easier to use website than a lot of their old information. So all right.
He shared. That's very cool. I need that.
Yes, I thought that would be something. And if we're in the drought situation, it works in that. I mean, it's just going to show rainfall that you can do it by days, months. I mean, you just have to play with it, and pull up that information. So with that, yeah, same deal with rain. Since our last update, we did have some dry spells. We got to small grain harvested pretty good. Most everybody had decent yields. I mean, we had some 50s. I didn't hear of any real dog yields, but a lot of people were in that 65 to 75 range, which is pretty good for wheat. And quality was decent, even though most of ours is going to a feed mill anyway, to feed pigs. Cotton and peanuts have finally started growing. They finally look like something now. Soybeans are the same way. So, I mean, I've got a grower still planting soybeans. And I mean, that's his full season beans, not his double crop. That's partly his problem, but July 10th beans, they'll do something. But, we've had to replant some double crop beans. We've had to replant full season beans. Like I say, we've got about an 8-week soybean planting window this year, from mid-April on. Well, longer than that. It's going to be 12 weeks because some people are still planting. So, and I sent some off to you on at Blackstone. I was just convinced there was some root disease, stunted, not growing well, and she can't isolate any pathogens from them. But said there is discoloration in the roots, and it's just water stress is what what we chalked it up to. So, but they were starting to grow. Now we got anywhere from 1 inch to 6 inches of rain here in the last week. Probably the biggest thing that trouble people are having is grasses. it's hard to kill grass this year. Goosegrass, broadleaf signal grass. I mean, you burn it off, it comes back, put more Roundup or something else. Grass has been a real challenge in all crops, cotton and soybeans mainly. But you know, things are starting to finally turn around. Finally, the deer, if there's enough beans planted now, the deer got more to feed on. So, you know, they're not just picking on the early planted stuff. And are you going to talk about the tissue testing, Carrie, or
Well, you
later?
can go ahead and bring it up because I may run out of time, so I might keep mine very short.
Okay, so in the on-farm soybean variety program, you know, we've got some funding from the soybean board, and we've got a protocol where we're testing within our variety trial. So we've got about 10 to 12 locations across the state. We're tissue sampling specific varieties. So in group 4s and group 5 within Enlist, within Extend. So we got 4 varieties. So we should have 4 to 6 data points on each one where we've got our first samples back from V4. We're going to do it at R1 and then R3 kind of as a follow-up. And the goal was to look at, hey, at V4, we can put something with our post herbicides. At R1, we can plan on with fungicide or insecticide applications. And pretty much everything that the first one, sulfur, kind of came up as one that was low. Those came out of Chesapeake. I've not gotten any results. I know some more have been taken over the last week, but kind of sulfur was the one that was standing out as being a little bit on the low side currently. So seen a little bit of visual manganese deficient in soybeans that was treated, but yeah, I just want to remind everybody that's got any of the on-farm soybean trials to remember to pull your tissue test. I'm going to send that out again too. We're just trying to get a feel to supplement the work that Carrie's doing. What are our modern varieties? Just what does tissue test look like? Because you know, all the information is 50, 60 years old as far as sufficiency ranges, and we're just kind of seeing what do some of the modern varieties look like in our trials. So that's what I had, Carrie.
Thanks, Scott. Yeah, I was really interested to see those results come in, and I'm looking forward to see more of them as they come back. So I appreciate y'all going out and taking those samples, and I think we'll get a lot out of it overall. I'm wondering if they've got any visual symptoms or anything visually concerning out there. It didn't seem like they had any concerns when they collected the samples. So anyways, I think it'll be a great data set at the end of the year to get a lot out of. So thanks to everyone that's doing that. And thanks for the update, Scott. Robbie, do you want to take it away?
Yeah, thanks, Carrie. Good morning, everybody. I'm here from Eastern Virginia, kind of Middle Peninsula, Northern Neck region. Kind of echoing a lot of the same comments. You know, we've had our fair share of rain here over the past 10 days, I would say, following a pretty brutal spell that we were in. We were in a pretty bad spell back about 22nd through the 26th, 27th of June. We had 5 or 6 consecutive days of 95 plus degree temperatures, high heat index, and it dinged our corn. I mean, no question about it. Some of our early planted corn that was planted, you know, late March, early April, some of the first stuff to tassel, it took a little bit of a hit there. I was looking at some earlier this week that pollination was hit or miss. You know, you would have 2 or so inches of tip back on some of it. So, I mean, that definitely, you know, took a little bit of a slug on some of it. the stuff that was planted, what I consider timely, you know, second to third week of April, that corn looks really good. It did get some of that stress, but with this rain, it caught it just right. You know, it basically waited to silk and tassel after that heat spell we had. So pollination looks pretty good on that. Yield potential looks pretty good on that. Kind of similar to what Bobby was saying, you know, with some of the wet conditions we had early on, and then we turned off kind of dry and hot, and now we're back wet again. You know, there's some growers that, particularly on lighter soil types, that, you know, a little concerned about how much residual nitrogen they might have left there from side dress. And so, you know, the problem is when you're looking at, you know, 375 corn, you can't afford to throw the kitchen sink at it and chase a dream that might not come to reality. And so, you know, just trying to remind some of these growers that, you know, if you're already kind of behind the 8 ball, you know, make sure you make a good decision. Don't just go out there and jump on something that the salesman tries to bring to you, because, you know, you got to be able to pencil that out with these low markets. And so, you know, overall, I would say corn looks pretty good. We've actually got a fair bit of corn up this way just for, you know, logistical reasons that were planted fairly late. And so it hadn't even tasseled yet. So that corn still stands a real good chance to have high yield potential. Soybeans, similar to what Scott and others have said, you know, the beans are finally growing. They actually look like soybeans now. They sat the same size for like 30 days and just, you know, no growth whatsoever. Extreme deer pressure, groundhog pressure, you know, all the stuff that y'all have mentioned already. So beans are starting to look pretty good. Like Scott said, you know, weed pressure has definitely been a challenge for growers this year. You know, some of the stuff just has been tough to kill. Some of it has we had a late flush of morning glory come up here about 2 weeks, week and a half ago, prolifically. And so that's, you know, caused a few issues for some folks. But, you know, certainly overall, I would say we've got very good yield potential across the board at this point. And so thankful for, you know, the recent rain that we've gotten. We were probably anywhere over the last, I'm gonna say 10 days, we've probably been anywhere from an inch to 6 inches, depending on where you were in the region. You know, locally here, we probably have been on average about, I would say 3 to 4 inches is kind of what most people have gotten here in my area, but certainly there have been locations much higher than that. And then there have been locations that, you know, are lower. So overall, though, I think we don't have anybody in a real bad, you know, drought situation. I'll share just a couple slides really quick, Carrie. I won't take much time with this, but this is the, so actually I'm working on my presentation for the board next week, but hopefully everybody can see these slides. If not, say something. So the on-farm wheat variety trials, we have all the data for that. I'm hoping to get the preliminary stuff sent out either today or tomorrow. I'm just waiting. I'm working with Nick San Antonio, the small greens breeder. We're kind of collaborating on some of this with his data and my data through this. So this is the overall variety yield summary for the locations that we had this year. And so as you can see, you know, across the board, very good yields for wheat. You know, we had exceptional yields in 2 locations. I'm not sure what they've got going on in Charlotte County, but Bruce and Joanne got some really, really great yields down in their neck of the woods off of their plots. King and Queen, we had a real good location there as well, with some really good yields over 100 bushels. And again, these are, I don't have that listed here, but these are, you know, all equated to a constant moisture, 13.5. So, you know, that way we have a level playing field, you know, between differences in moistures. So really good yields overall. On the test weight side of things, if it will advance for me on the test weight side of things, pretty good test weights overall as well. You know, unfortunately, some of the later harvested wheat here in the last week or so, you know, July 4th holiday and beyond, has been catching a lot of these rains, like Steven said. So that's been kind of unfortunate for those producers. You know, that's had a direct impact on test weight, falling numbers, some of the things that the buyers are looking for. It's definitely impacted some of those things. And actually, I've had a few reports of some growers that had higher vomitoxin levels in the later harvested stuff. And so definitely, you know, with wheat, it's all about timing, as most of you know. You know, the sooner you can get it out the field, the better off you are. Every time it rains, rains on it, you're just losing money. And so that was just a summary of some of the data from that. So thank you to the folks that help support this effort every year. And this information, like I said, will be sent out either today or Monday as soon as I hear back from Nick. And you can share that with your growers. I'll send it out through the A&R listserv. One thing that I thought was interesting, some of you may have already seen this photo, on small grain this year. This was a trial that we had over with Joseph at the AREC. And this field, just for logistical reasons, did not get a fungicide application. It was kind of out to itself, and logistically, they just didn't get there to put the fungicide on it. And so while that's not, typically ideal for what a grower might do, it did provide very, very good data for us. And they had a fairly substantial outbreak of leaf rust over in that neck of the woods this year. And you can see from these photos here that, just variety selection and having varieties that have that resistance trait built in made a huge difference. And if you take, this photo and go back and correlate it to that yield table that I showed you, you can see, substantial differences in yields between the plots, that are further along senescing and brown due to that leaf rust compared to the lines that have that resistance. And so just, very interesting. I thought you couldn't ask for a better picture to demonstrate some of that. And so just, as you're working with growers, I think a lot of times growers get blinded by yield data. They want the top yielding variety out there. That's just what they're looking for. But, oftentimes with some of these things, these disease packages can play a big role in how well things work out, particularly in a year where, if you're wet, like in this situation, and they couldn't get to the field to make the fungicide application, this was the result. So overall, pretty good season so far. Excited to see what the yields are. I don't think we're looking at a bumper crop, Bobby, but I think we're probably looking at, at least average or above average yields for most growers if the trend continues.
That's a great picture. Thanks for sharing that, Robbie. That's that we should put that in a textbook somewhere.
Thank Joseph. He's a drone pilot.
Sounds good. Well, I appreciate that update from the Northern Neck area. We've got a couple other agents on that I wanted to give them an opportunity to share what's going on in their parts of the state if they want to. And I also wanted to make sure that, Mark, you get a chance to talk about some nitrogen and corn. So, but first we'll see, Elizabeth and Sarah, if you have anything that you wanted to share, I'll pass it along to you if you do. If not, that's okay.
I kind of just had a rookie statement to make from one of my growers. Y'all have probably heard of this, but he came to me with his concern. One of my growers down along the state line, he had peanuts planted in a particular field last year, went in furrow, I guess, with Vellum, Admire Pro, and High Stick. Picked his peanuts, didn't disturb the land, planted and harvested his wheat in the same field. And now with his double crop beans, he's seeing that 1-inch wide streaking band in that location where he put those products in the peanut row. And so it's very noticeable, these 1-inch streaks everywhere. He had a peanut row last year in his beans. So that was the really only anomaly that I've heard of in our area so far.
Thanks, Sarah. That always hurts when it's your own fault, but always something good to learn from.
I don't have much extra to add than what's already been talked about, other than Surrey and Sussex. I feel like I've definitely been had some people that have been blessed by the rain and some people that have not been blessed by the rain. It's kind of like it's splitting and hitting the northern edges and the southern edges, but just dead through the center of Surrey County, all the rains have been splitting. So some pivots have been running. There's some corn that got real twisted up, especially during that heat wave that we had. So I think we have some great yields and some yields that are going to be pretty questionable. And it's, Scott and I were just going through the prevent plant with the cotton, and too much rain in the spring, and then it's kind of like it switched. So we'll see how that ends up playing out for yields. I'm hoping it can recover some with these extra rains and a little bit cooler that we've been this week.
Yeah, that's really good to remember. You know, we talked about how much rain we've gotten, but in some isolated areas we have not gotten enough, which is always kind of hard to wrap your head around, but good to remember. So thanks for bringing that up. And I also wanted to call out Helen in case you had anything to share from the Eastern Shore, if you've seen anything exciting out your way.
No, thanks, Gary. Nothing exciting, but you guys can send some of this rain our way because we were in the blue zone on on Northampton County anyway, not necessarily Accomack County on what Scott has been showing. I mean, I've heard like really low test weight on wheat from our growers, not a great crop of wheat. And riding around this week, yeah, everything looks really dry down my way. So not super positive.
Well, I appreciate the update. Hopefully y'all will get some more rain. It feels like there's more coming. Forecast is a little gloomy in my opinion, but hopefully y'all will get some of those storms that are projected for Suffolk too. So I appreciate the updates, and I'm going to circle back to Mark so you can answer the question about nitrogen and corn.
Yeah. The answer is it depends, Gary. No. So I put a couple links in the chat for you, Bobby. And this is for anybody else who might have had a lot of rain as well. So the first link is a extension or a pub from Arkansas. They have done the most work that I know of with I won't say similar production systems, but they have a lot of systems similar to what we do here in Virginia. And they have developed refined some tissue testing percentages, because you probably haven't lost as much nitrogen as you think with these high intensity rainfall events. A lot of that'll just run off. And so the soil, unless the soil is saturated, like, in Stevens Field that's flooded, that's a different scenario. But, if you just had a 4-inch thunderstorm, you probably didn't lose a lot. So tissue testing is still the best thing to do. And that pub has some updated recommendations as well as how much nitrogen to put out. Your question as far as foliar feed still scares me. I never like to foliar feed anything except micros. So if they have a high clearance sprayer, that's still the best way to drop some, liquid nitrogen down near the root zone. If you're going to do 15, 20, 25 pounds, whatever the tissue test called for. That's what I would encourage you to do. You can fly in on some urea if you have a way to do that as well. Just do some NBBT coated urea this time of year. But
hey, Mark.
Hey.
Question.
Yeah.
Are you seeing it seems like to me when I'm monitoring, like especially in the camel area, we're monitoring like I just don't think nutrients and I guess where fertilizer prices and especially lime prices have gone up, it kind of concerns me long term that it's not something that farmers aren't addressing like they should be. And I think it's going to catch us in a couple of years. I'm already starting to see that on a few farms with pH getting around 5.4, things like that. And, you're looking at $50, $60 a ton now for limes. I think that's going to be a problem for a lot of these guys coming up.
I agree, Todd. That's the biggest problem I've seen this year too. We need to do an effort to say, if you do nothing else, the lime. I know it's expensive, but that's the most important thing.
And that's cheap lime, Todd. Here we're 70 to 80 spread. So
Don't even ask Helen what hers is.
Yeah. Probably 100. So
it's hard to get it here. Like Appomattox lime plants broke down, and they're only about end of July and August is about the only time you can get it here. Is about 2 months out of the year. Haven't checked over in Botetourt or anything with that line, but it seems like I've been on a wait list just for my pastures now for 7 months and just waiting on to get it.
Okay.
Might be an interesting thought is, up here in the valley, we have ports, and but looking statewide at lime accessibility and how you guys, it just becomes a thing. Our line's probably 20, 30 Well, it's probably $40 spread, somewhere like that. I don't really know, but it's nothing like you're talking about. But if you can't get lime, maybe that's something that we think about a little bit.
Yeah, I agree.
All right. Yeah, good discussion. And I'm putting all the links in an agenda and I'm gonna send it out. So this has been great. I really appreciate it. The one person we've not heard of is Tim. Tim, did you have any insect updates you wanted to share?
Yeah, I just wanted to show quickly, because many of the people on this call are working on this effort. We got money from the soybean board this year to kind of expand our corn earworm monitoring capacity. And a lot of agents have participated in that. And we worked with Chris Mitchell on campus, and he kind of built us this tool to look at that data. So everyone has that Google sheet that y'all have been reporting to. And as soon as you hit submit on that, within, I think he said 15 minutes, it updates this map. And this is just on our entomology webpage through the Tidewater AREC. But it has real-time data, and you can go at a county level and look at those trap captures over time. But what it kind of illustrates to me is exactly why we need this effort. Is it's been really highly variable across all these different locations. And to sprinkle a couple grains of salt on that, trap location is important at a really small scale. So we could put one out here in this cornfield right outside my window and not catch much, and put one 500 yards at a cornfield down the path here and catch more. But I do think some of the trends we've seen and variability here are legitimate. So I'm hoping that y'all will be able to use this to kind of keep your growers informed on when and where they need to be looking for earworms in soybeans, and be able to scout and make a quick and effective treatment decision where it's necessary. Other than that, we're kind of in an interim time, waiting for things to kind of ramp up in beans. And we'll be looking for a good corn earworm efficacy trial, and I'm willing to go wherever there are worms to put that in. So if anyone has a problem fields with a grower that would be willing to have us come out with a backpack and throw in an efficacy trial, don't hesitate to let me know. And that's about it.
All right, thanks, Tim. Well, since we're going a little bit over, I'm going to keep my update really short. And basically, I wanted to just share some of the upcoming events. And so I wanted to make sure everyone was aware we're having a corn and soybean twilight tour in 2 weeks on July 23rd at the Tidewater AREC. So everybody in the Southeast, if y'all are available, would love to see you. It's basically from 2:30 to 6:30, and we're going to have Q Daddies for dinner. So would love to have you. Well, there's also the soybean or the Southern Piedmont AREC is having their row crop field day on the July 31st. So for those of you that's more convenient, that's also coming up. And then August 7th is the Virginia Ag Expo. That's up in Orange County in Locust Grove. And I am kind of asking for help right now. So one of the things that we need is I would love for folks, if y'all are willing and you're going to be up there, first of all, if you have access to an extension van and are willing to bring a van, we're looking for basically the Ag Expo is going to be split into 2 zones this year. So we're going to have parking kind of in the front and then 2 zones. One zone is going to be exhibitors in front of the corn plots, and one zone is going to be exhibitors in front of the soybean plots. And so because of the expected heat and weather that August 7th always seems to bring, it's probably going to be hot, and folks are probably not going to want to walk far. So if we can have extension vans basically running from the parking to each zone throughout the day, that would be fantastic. So I think we have 1 van confirmed and are looking for 1 more van. But then I'm also hoping to kind of delegate some tasks and basically not have anybody stuck driving a van all day long. So I have created a Google Doc where folks can basically sign up for 2-hour shifts and basically have one van going to and from parking to the zone A and another van from parking to the zone B. So I'm going to share that in the chat right now, but I'll also send this out following up with on Monday with the recording and everything. And basically, if y'all are going to attend and wouldn't mind volunteering to help out, it'd be a huge help to make sure that we can get folks to and from and kind of get that taken care of. So apologize for the kind of last minute thing, but really appreciate any help that y'all are willing to give. And if you do have a van that you're willing to drive up, I promise we won't make you drive it for the whole event, is what I'm trying to do. So we're not going to punish those who are generously offering their vans. So with that, the other comment I wanted to make is, so that's basically a month out on Thursday, and then that Friday is our following the next monthly meeting. But that same day, we're going to have a field day in Virginia Beach in the morning. So we're going to go ahead and cancel this meeting because between being in Orange on Thursday and Virginia Beach on Friday, whatever part of the state we're in, hopefully we can all touch base in person that week. So I'm going to go ahead and basically cancel the next Zoom link, and we'll get together again for one last time this year in September, I believe. Yeah, we're going to cancel the August meeting and just meet again one last time for September. So hope to see all of you at a couple of these different field days and meetings between then and now, but really appreciate everyone joining this morning. And I really think we had a great discussion. So I really appreciate everyone's updates and just conversation, because I've gotten a lot out of it. So thanks to everybody for joining and spending the time on.
Hey, Carrie, can I share one thing real quick with the group?
Please do.
Yeah, I don't know if any of you got this, and I know for some it's quite a bit of a ways from your area, but the Virginia Grain Producers Association is hosting a regional meeting / event that they're going to be having July 29th, so coming up here pretty quickly. It's in Mechanicsville, Virginia at Creamfield Farm. Carrie will actually be there speaking, and I've been asked by Taylor Hubbard with the association to help spread the word to agents, growers, anybody that might be interested. And so I just put on the screen there the flyer that they've got. And if anybody wants that, let me know and I'll be happy to email it to you or whatever. But got two good speakers there, Carrie and Hunter, coming up to provide some information, and they've got some nutrient management credits. So sounds like it's an open invitation to anybody that would be interested. So just wanted to share that with folks if any of you all are interested in making the drive to that meeting.
Thanks, Robbie. I appreciate you including that. I've added that to my list, and I'm going to send this list out after the meeting, so everyone's got kind of a list about what's going on. So appreciate you bringing that up. Is that going to be in the field or in the shop? Do you know?
I assume it's going to be, they've got like a big shop there at the farm. I assume it's going to be in the shop there, but I really don't know the extensiveness of if they've got any type of field stuff they'll be looking at as well or not. But I just wanted to share that with folks in case anybody was interested in making the drive down for that.
I appreciate it. I ask because I'm trying to figure out how to prepare.
Yeah, I assume it's going to be in their shop there, Carrie, would be my guess. But, depending on crowd turnout, they may have to do something a little different because it's only so big. But they definitely said, invite anybody that would be interested in hearing the talks and being a part of it. So if anybody would like to go, they just asked if you do want to go to RSVP to Taylor Hubbard at the Virginia Grain Producers Association. There should be a Facebook event link. So if you just search on Facebook, Virginia Grain Producers Association, they should have that event on there as well. And you can just RSVP through that as well if you'd like to. So they do ask you RSVP if you come, so they can make sure they have lunch. But it is open to producers, extension agents, anybody that may like to be there.
And
Carrie,
I will.
I think I can bring a van and come help with that on the 7th.
Okay, thank you, Todd. I really appreciate it. I shared a Google Docs link in the chat, and I think it's page 3 is where I've got a van sign up. And so I know I'm going to have some of my staff helping out as well. Hunter's going to have some of his staff helping out as well. So I think between the the group of us, we can make it so that no one's stuck for all too long. But I appreciate that, Todd, for the van. That'll be perfect.
I will say that for those of us further into the southeast, VGPA is doing a very similar event on August 1st in Windsor, a farm not too far off of 460. So if that date or if that area is more convenient for y'all, I can get that info sent to Carrie as well to put in the minutes.
Yeah, please do, Elizabeth. I haven't heard of that one, but I'd love to add it to the list so it can get out to some other folks. So thanks for bringing that up. All right. Well, thanks everyone so much. I really enjoyed the discussion this morning, and hopefully we can get some sunshine and see each other in person the next couple of weeks here at all these different events coming up. So thank you to everybody here.
Thanks, y'all. Have a good day.
Bye, y'all.
Thank you.
Bye.